CNN Business Arabic is in Riyadh at Money 2020 Middle East for an exclusive interview with Mike Shambieon, the CEO of Tحالف, who are organizing this event. Mike, thank you so much for being with us on CNN Business Arabic. So you've co-founded Tحالف in 2022. How were you able to achieve such rapid growth in such a short period of time?
You know, there's many reasons, but I think the most important aspect is the market. The market has to be, absolutely right for this sort of really quick, fast growth. And to measure the fast growth, to give you context, it would probably take 20 to 30 years, if at all, to grow some of the events that we've got, the event brands that we've got, to the size that they are anywhere else in the world. But here in Saudi, we've managed to do it in sometimes 1, 2, 3 editions. If you take Leap, for example, the tech event, that's now the most attended tech event in the world. Cityscape, that's now the biggest property event in the world, which has $5 billion of transactions on site. Now, normally, that would take decades to grow to that size, but in Saudi, it's taken us 1 edition and then 2 even to build on that success. And the same goes for Global Health Exhibition. It's now one of the largest healthcare events in the world. I'd love to say that's purely down to the remarkable abilities of my team, and they are remarkable, but actually you need the right market, and Saudi is a brilliant market for that because, let's face it, up until His Royal Highness the Crown Prince decided to really liberalise and transform the economy, the events trade was quite nascent. And so since then, what has happened is that it's opened up, and we've been able to, partner with government entities over here and say, well, let's try and really bring a world-class event to you, and that's what Tحالف is doing. Tحالف is not just any international sort of events organizer that wants to land in Saudi Arabia, make lots of profits, bring just an ordinary type of event into here. Tحالف has very strategic partners, some of which are governmental, and they're not necessarily looking for a quick buck out of making events. What they're looking for is quality, world-class events, and sometimes that comes at a lower profit margin. But actually, the sort of deal and the sort of covenant that we have is, we will scale these events to something that can be world-class, but the only way that we can do this really quickly is by leveraging some of the tactical sort of gains that Saudi government alone can be able to achieve for you. And so that's why you'll see with Tḥالف events, pretty much all of them are aligned with Vision 2030. They are partnered with several government entities, and the government entities work very, very much in tandem with what we're doing because we're completely aligned to growing these events. To give you the example of Money 2020, where we are today, this event is under the Financial Development Programme. It's also under the SAMA, the Central Bank. It's under the Capital Markets Authority, the Insurance Authority, FinTech Saudi, and several other entities as well that are part of that ecosystem to do with, FinTech and also the financial services and associated businesses are fully aligned and fully coordinated behind this event. They are driving this event and we are doing it in tandem with them. Without that complete picture, that complete ecosystem, we'd never be able to get the confidence of some of the international thought leaders and speakers and companies that have flown into Saudi to come in here on day one and scale this to being one of the largest Money 2020s in the world.
So Mike, what are some challenges you have when you want to attract international brands here in the region, specifically in Saudi Arabia?
I mean, Paula, to be honest, I don't think we've had much of a challenge in getting international brands here. First and foremost, most of the big brands, in the major strategic sectors, they've got a local headquarters, regional headquarters rather, in Saudi Arabia now. There's very few that sort of haven't. So in order to sort of attract, the really big players internationally to Saudi Arabia, they're already here, we don't have much of an issue. So what are the challenges that we're finding? Actually, it's more of a mission. Anybody can attract the super tier 1 brands, the multinational companies. They're already doing business here. But what people struggle to do is to curate and attract businesses that haven't been in the market before. And so the way we resolve that is we have country agents, and we also have specialists working from Saudi Arabia, from Riyadh, in our offices, who are specialists in a particular sector, or they're specialists in a particular market. Maybe they're specialist in China or Japanese companies, or they're specialist in machine learning. And what they're able to do is to engage with those networks from abroad and to help to curate really interesting companies that aren't actually present over here. Which is why when you come to a lot of our events, you'll see a huge startup area with newborn companies from around the world, of which they'll be participating. So to give you the example of Money 2020, actually about 50% of the startups that are here are from abroad, as opposed to many of the other startup events that you'll see, probably based here. A large majority of them will probably come from Saudi Arabia. So we really are trying to bring in new ideas, fresh ideas from abroad and bring them to Saudi.
And Mike, the LEAP experience, how do you intend to replicate it perhaps into other markets or even sectors?
So if we're talking about our event LEAP, LEAP is I don't think it can be completely replicated to another area. We adapt brands, they have the same flavour, you know, they might have a similar sort of shape, but we try to adapt them for the market that they're going into. And actually, with the example of LEAP, it's interesting that you should mention that, Paula, because we have launched that for the first time in Hong Kong, and that's going to be our first international expansion of a Saudi-made brand in exhibitions. And so we're really excited about this. We've been speaking with the Hong Kong government, Hong Kong authorities, and many of the big sort of private side protagonists over in Hong Kong. And so from the 8th to the 10th of July next year, what we're going to see is a really exciting launch in that area. There's going to be a lot of Saudi companies there, a lot of Saudi participation, some Saudi participation from government as well, such as the really close sort of bond and friendship between those two countries. But it'll be a slightly different shape, it'll be a slightly different flavour, just because Riyadh's very different to Hong Kong, and the market does things slightly differently. So yeah, I think to sort of answer your question in that respect, we prefer to adapt things in order to meet the market's expectations rather than force a product on them.
And if we want to talk about Saudi Arabia, more domestically speaking, how do events like LEAP or even Money 2020 fuel the fintech sector here?
Very much so. You know, they're a facilitator. They're not the most important part of it, but they are an integral part of accelerating a sector. You know, we recently did some economic impact survey studies on the events that Tahálif do, and by economic impact of an event, you can measure things like how many international business tourists have flown into the country. How much are they, on average, spent with the airline? How much have they spent at the hotel? How much food are they eating every day? You know, the drinks, the tourism activities, the car activities. All of this stuff adds up. And we're also able to measure our spend on the exhibition. We're able to measure the exhibitors' spend on building their stands and so forth. And on some of our events, we're actually able to measure the transactions of business that happen on site. For example, at Cityscape, with the transactions on the site, there's $5 billion of transactions that happen on the show floor. That's people like you and me going to a stand and buying a flat off plan in Riyadh or something like this, okay? And so that's $5 billion of transactions. That's significant. Now, since 2022, since 23, so 23, 24 and 25, when you add up the economic impact of that, that's more than $17 billion. It's $17.6 billion across all the events that we've done. So the events in themselves are creating a sustainable and predictable annual economic impact to the country. It's lifting an entire sector, including all of the supply chain, the quality of the venues and everything else around that. And then all you need to do is look at the venue, is look at the show floor. We're bringing thousands of startups across our events, some from around the world, some from Saudi,